The Forest is an open-world survival simulator developed and published by End Games. After 4 years in early access, its full version was released at the end of April. After playing both single and multiplayer part of this game and spending more than 27 hours in both, I think I can finally answer question asked in the title of this video. Yes, I think it is. Even though The Forest was often represented as a co-op or multiplayer title, it features a proper single-player mode and you can enjoy entire game even when playing alone. It features complete single-player campaign with story, cutscenes and ending. You can start a new game, load it, save it, and have your own personal sandbox that can't be affected by any players. Yes, you might miss out on some cool creations people do in multiplayer, and everything will take you a bit more time, especially when it comes to building things, but you can complete the whole thing without any restrictions and without missing any actual content. If you want, you can also play multiplayer solo, even though that is not as enjoyable as single player if you're alone, but I will be talking about that a bit later in this video. Next question is this game worth buying for any new players that never played The Forest before? Once again, yes, this game is not a typical survival multiplayer game where you can lose your base if you turn it off, or character anytime you die, so you can learn any mechanics or explore environment at your own pace, without fear of some dude with best gear destroying you, and if you are killed, you can just reload your last save. However, you still have to protect your base from cannibals, but they will only attack you when you actually play the game, and only when you're located in your base or around it. Game also features a pretty good tutorial where you can learn basics of survival and building, and even a complete beginner like me that rarely plays survival games had no problem understanding it. And finally, its price. The Forest will cost you around 17 euros, and I think that is a very cheap price for the amount of content it offers. If you like survival games, you should definitely buy it for its full price, you will not regret it. Hopefully, I answered these important questions properly. And now I will be taking a deeper look at single player and multiplayer, its mechanics, story, gameplay, visuals, and other small things that caught my attention. So without any further delays, let's start with single player. Your journey in Forest begins when your character's plane gets shut down and Timmy, your son, gets kidnapped. After that you are on your own and you are free to do what you want. One thing I really liked about Forest is that it doesn't force anything on you. If you want, you can follow its storyline by checking out various caves scattered around island. If you want to build a giant fortress, you are free to do that as well. Or if you don't feel like doing any of that, you can just walk around, survive and perform genocide on cannibal population. When it comes to actual gameplay, it consists of 5 main parts: survival, crafting, exploration, building and combat. Survival requires you to be well fed and hydrated. You also need to look out for any poisonous mushrooms or berries that you might eat. If you kill a cannibal, you need to wash his blood away, and if you stay in cold too much, your energy will be drained. Generally, you just need to make sure your character doesn't die from any natural cause, and there are tons of tools and mechanics that can help you with that, like ability to build shelters. The Forest features a huge building system that allows you to construct small cabins, tree houses, or even huge bases with various contraptions. You can either use a pre-built set, where you only need to gather resources to create it, or you can create custom buildings, walls, stairs, and a lot more. If you want to make your survival easier, you can construct gardens for plants, rabbit traps for rabbit fur and meat, or birdhouses for feathers. Other than that, you can also build log holders, rock storage, tables, chairs, beds, plus anything else that you will find in your survival book. You can build in the middle of forest, on beach, or even on water if you want. Building system is easy to grasp, I had no problems with it, except for a few times where walls wouldn't snap together as I wanted. However, be prepared that it will take you a lot of time to build anything bigger. For example, I was able to gather around 60 or 70 logs per game day, which is around 20 minutes. Those 70 logs are enough to build a semi-sized cabin, but if you want to build something bigger, for example a base that is similar to mine, prepare to spend maybe 5 hours doing it. Chopping trees and gathering sticks for this can get a bit tedious, especially until you find a chainsaw, and I wouldn't recommend constructing anything really big until you get it. And you also can't forget about cannibals, that will try to hinder your building process. And that takes me to combat. Melee system is pretty simple. You can use quick and charged attacks with left mouse button and block incoming attacks. You can find or craft various melee weapons, including stuff like axes, clubs and katana. Ranged weaponry allows you to fight enemies from distance using bows, guns and spears. You can also craft explosives or molotovs to cause elemental damage and scare enemies away. It is also possible to upgrade weapons to increase their strength or speed. If you prefer stealthy approach, it is possible as well, but it is a bit harder to pull it off. Even if combat is not very complicated, it is a lot of fun, thanks to unpredictable cannibal AI. 1 minute they will try to club you to death, and second later they start running away. Sometimes they just circle around you and watch you without engaging. They will even send one single scout after you that will then call his other buddies to help him out. You can even tame them by not attacking them at all, and they will simply ignore you. You really can't prepare for any encounter with them, each one is a bit different, and they were a highlight of this game for me. And if you wanna survive against them, you need to craft tools for that. You can craft various items in your inventory simply by combining ingredients. Once you place something on your crafting mat, you can see a list of things you can craft with your selected item, and next to each creation, there is a list of other things you need for it. Thanks to that, crafting in forest is pretty easy. You can craft weapons like axes or clubs, explosives, molotovs, or bags that allow you to carry more spears, rocks and water. You can even create armor and suits that help you survive in cold environment, medicine and other essential items. And you're gonna need everything you can make if you want to explore this place. The forest takes place on a huge island that features different environments like mountains, meadows, beaches, caves, and of course forest itself. You are free to explore its vast environment right from the start, and there is a lot to discover. Just by walking around island, you can find camps of survivors, cannibal villages, or some interesting landmarks, like the yacht stranded in the middle of sea. You can also find various supply stashes or hints on how to continue in main storyline. Most of it, however, happens in caves that you need to explore if you want to finish the game. These caves are basically forest's version of endgame dungeons. You can find them scattered around the whole map, and if you find them, they get marked on your map. Inside you can usually find tons of cannibals or mutants that are a lot stronger than your average cannibal, and you need to prepare before taking them on. At the end of most of them, you can find an important story item like keycards or climbing axe, and also some other useful items like before mentioned chainsaw or katana. Be prepared, however, that these caves are really dark, and I have to admit that I raised my brightness so I could at least see something. They can also be very confusing sometimes, and it is very easy to get lost, but game also tracks your progress through them, so unless they get scratched from your journal, you know you still missed something. Some caves are harder than others, and it is entirely up to you which one you want to explore first. What I really liked is that these caves are basically a separate underground world with their own map, and if you don't want to, you don't even need to explore them until you are ready to finish the game or require some sort of important item. Without spoiling anything, I would say that the forest's overall story is pretty good. There is a lot to discover here, with tons of background information on the island, cannibals, and previous inhabitants of this island. Game also features different mods. If you only like to build things, you can use peaceful mod that removes any cannibals or threats from the game. If you think that game is too easy, you can try out hardcore mode, and there are even some fan-made mods that can change your experience. Other than cannibals, you can also encounter animals like boars, deers, raccoons or rabbits on the island that are useful for crafting and food. And if you want, you can also build a boat and become a fisherman or something. There are simply a lot of things that you can build, kill, and explore in the forest. Now let's take a quick look at multiplayer and what makes it different when compared to single player. To be honest, there aren't many differences, especially if you play alone. First of all, be prepared to find tons of empty open servers and tons of locked private ones. Finding a server that has more than 2 or 3 players on it without it being private is pretty hard, at least in my region. If you're successful and you connect to your chosen server, you basically start a new game again on it. After that, everything is same as it was in vanilla game when it comes to gameplay. You can of course find different creations made by people that played or still play on that particular server, and I was pleasantly surprised by some weird contraptions people made. But trying to play on a server alone is also pretty risky. You never know when it's gonna close down, and if you go offline, anyone can still destroy your base or steal your stuff. Personally, I also didn't find anyone on any of the servers I tried that wanted to play with me, but that might just have been my bad luck. So if you really don't care about having other people run around you while you explore the island, I would advise you to stick to single player mode. I think that multiplayer is best played with friends, and if you don't have anyone to play with, it is really not worth it. In case you really want to play a game like The Forest with random strangers, you should take a look at other games like Conan Exiles, Rust or Ark that have a lot more solo players in multiplayer. Overall, The Forest was a pleasant surprise. Originally, I expected it to be similar to Rust or any other survival multiplayer game out there. Instead, I got a very good game with different mechanics that might not be very unique, but they're all well crafted and implemented with care, interesting storyline, and a huge beautiful world to explore. If you enjoy crafting, building bases, or surviving in wilderness, and you are someone that enjoys to play games alone, then The Forest is an excellent choice, and I can only recommend it. And yeah guys, I guess that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed this first episode of my new Is It Worth Buying for Solo Players Newcomers series. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. Tell me anything I should maybe change, anything new I should implement or take a look at or talk about. Tell me if my voice was good, if the script was okay, if my pronunciation wasn't too bad, if you like the editing and gameplay, and generally just tell me your thoughts about this new series. I will be very glad to read them. My next video should be either For Honor, Is It Worth Buying video, or I will be doing a video about Fallout New Vegas upcoming mods, specifically the Frontier and New California. I'm not really sure which one I will be doing first, but I guess you will find out. And yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, tell me what you think about it in the comments, subscribe for more Fallout and other games content, and I will see you next time.